Hey, this is Nancheng. Today I'll be introducing an AncientGreymon OTK deck that can literally destroy the current yellow hybrid, and it also has decent matchups against different decks. Let's get right into it. First thing is a general analysis on the strengths and weaknesses. The main thing we're doing the analysis of the strengths and weaknesses is not only knowing how to play properly, but we can have a clear concept of how to play against it. And furthermore, we can then predict how our opponent wants to play against it and get prepared for making the right move. So for the strengths, it has a very clear win condition. With AncientGreymon's overpowered effect, it'll be easy to make it lethal to clear all the security cards. Every time you digivolve your stack of Digimon, you're getting one more check for AncientGreymon later, which makes the sense to keep spending memory to digivolving on the same level. And with the Aldamon's effect, it'll make the attack super safe. After that, just digivolve into Blitzamon for game or using Hybrid for game. The game plan is straightforward. And with the searching cards in this deck, there will still be a chance even the hand is break. Also, most of the time, the main stack of the Digimon always stays in the breeding area, which means your opponent has nearly no way to put effects on it. That means you don't need to worry about the ways of getting removed by your opponent. And for the weaknesses, in this variant, the playstyle is fixed. Although you can still adjust it when playing against different matchups, it's not flexible overall. And it will be useless if you don't see an AncientGreymon or you're staying Heartbreak, because the whole deck is playing around having a big stack of AncientGreymon. Even though Aldamon's effect makes security options not activating, there's still something other than option that can stop the OTK from the security like Chikurimon, Alphamon, Tommy, or Purple Curry. After that, your opponent has another turn to deal with the AncientGreymon and possibly win the game. And also, blocker is a trouble to this deck, especially Magnamon. Because of the armor purge, even if there's a piercing Flamemon in the stack, it doesn't go through to security. And this deck relies on the one punch, that means your opponent can set up one blocker to handle each attack. Also, getting denied by blockers makes it exposing to removal. Okay, let's take a look on the cards. For level 2, we play 4 Demi-Merimon. Its effect is very easy to trigger, and gaining DP is a main thing to make sure AncientGreymon goes through all the securities. And then we play 1 Coromon. So ideally, you always get a 1k DP for the big stack of AncientGreymon, and that 1k allows you to make some piercing plays safer. And it is at 1 because sometimes you may want to use Agunimon when attacking effect to digivolve into AncientGreymon. In this situation, Koromon's effect doesn't trigger, so the AncientGreymon will only stay at 13k DP. And the reason why not using Capurimon is because having a Tamer on the board is not necessary for winning the game in this deck. Moving on to level 3, for red level 3 Digimon would only consider Digimon with Hybrid, which gives AncientGreymon extra security check. So all of them are Flamemons. We have only 2 BT4 Flamemon. This guy searches top 3 and potentially adds a Hybrid and a red Tamer to hand. It's a very powerful effect that by playing 1 card out to get 2 cards back. But yeah, Tamer is not necessary for winning the game, and it doesn't have an inherited effect, so we only play it at 2. Then we have 4 BT6 Flamemon. Its inherited effect gives Hybrid or 10 Warriors Piercing, which lets you to swing your AncientGreymon over a target and pierce security. Even if you're going for an OTK, if there's a card in security that can stop your OTK, you can still make an impact on the board to avoid your opponent comeback in the next turn. And piercing is the key to play against blockers. Your opponent will be forced to check security anyway. It guarantees the check, and after that you use maybe some Flamemons or other attacks to make them block, and finish with Blitzamon. Then we have 4 BT7 Flamemon. First thing is searches 4 instead of 3, having a higher chance to find the pieces you need. And if you're warping your Agunimon into AncientGreymon, when it dies, you can play a Takuya afterwards to keep strengthening its security. Then we have 2 Bokomons. We have Flamemons to search hybrid pieces, but the soul of the deck is AncientGreymon. So having 2 Bokomon here is mainly for the 10 Warrior search. The second effect isn't very useful in this deck, but sometimes it helps in the final turns for winning. itself and Digivolve Burning Greymon can do 2 more attacks, which can be huge in the matchups having blockers. And then for level 4, we have 4 Burning Greymon. First, it can hybrid for a game, but the main thing for it in this deck is for the same level Digivolution, to gain a security check for AncientGreymon. In the situation you're Digivolving to an AncientGreymon, when you already Digivolve your Digimon over level 4, the further Digivolve draws can give you additional chances to see more Burning Greymon in the case you need them for last hitting. That's the reason why we're not playing another level 4 hybrid. Also because of the main last hitting way is Blitz Omnimon, so that we can spare more spots for other cards. And then we have 4 Promo Agunimon. This Agunimon is the core of this deck. Its inherited effect makes that you can reduce the cost by 2 to Digivolve into an AncientGreymon. So you can promote your level 5 and Digivolve into AncientGreymon without passing the turn. In the situation you start at 3. Or even getting choked at 1, you can still do the OTK with a Gravity Crush. For level 5, we have 4 Metal Greymon Ultra's mode. I was using this as a way to play against Blue Hybrid. This card can solve some problems. First, by promoting an Alter's mode, Digivolving into it again just costs 1, but it can pop the memory blocker. So it can release the memory boost and use Gravity Crush for the memory to go into AncientGreymon. And also it was used for the security Tommy. Just by keep stacking up the AncientGreymon, make it 7 checks even if there's 1 Tommy in the security, the AncientGreymon still has 5 checks. And in BT8 format, its DP gaining effect also helps against Yellow Hybrid. They have Zoe and Saffronmon to bomb up the security DP. That can be a trouble that you cannot guarantee or OTK. With Alter's mode, you can make your AncientGreymon bigger to go through all the security. Then we have 4 Aldemon. Its inherited effect is a key to guarantee the successful OTK in most of the matchups. You always want to see an Aldemon in your AncientGreymon stack. But if sometimes you keep searching but don't see it, maybe you need to go Alter's mode and take the risk of hitting an option. The decision depends on how much pressure opponent gives you. In most situations, we don't use the DP gaining effect because it stays in the breeding area. We don't have a chance to use it. But in some situations, you can use it to reach the DP that's guaranteed to go through all the security Digimons. In the turn you plan to OTK, you then promote your level 4 Digimon, and then pop the memory boost, use the Gravity Crush, and then Digivolve into Aldemon, gain the 4k DP, and then continue Digivolving into Alter's mode, AncientGreymon for the OTK. Then for level 6 Digimon, we have the soul of the deck, 4 AncientGreymon. The first effect has the potential to reach an insane number of security attacks, which is the key to execute an OTK, and that's why it's excellent to counter Yellow Hybrid. Because you just keep Digivolving your stack, and when it becomes AncientGreymon, it just destroys all the securities. And the second effect is mostly used in the situation when you use Agunimon to warp Digivolve. It's a nice way to keep your aggression. Then we have 1 Emperor Greymon. It's a way to finish the game and it has the ability to counter blockers. Because it needs 5 hybrids in trash to synergize with Takuya, is not an easy condition for this deck, so we just play 1 in this deck. It's normally useful when you already use Agunimon's effect to warp in previous turns and need to follow up with some damage or the last hit. So for level 7 we have 3 Blitz Omnimon. This is the ultimate finisher in this deck. You always want to finish with Blitz Omnimon after the AncientGreymon swing. Because even if you're in 0, you don't need to spare any memory for it to make an additional attack. Moving on to the options, we have 4 Gravity Crush. This is my personal love card, my own obsession. I'll say it's a risky decision to put 4 in a deck, so you can put it lower or not to use it. So the first reason why this card is good is that your opponent is very hard to predict it. Even if they predict you're holding it in your hand, they cannot do much for it, considering only using 1 card to gain 2 memory. Even if they choke you at 1, you can still use a Gravity Crush and Digivolve into AncientGreymon if you have the Agunimon inherited effect. Secondly, the extra memory can help you when you're still missing some pieces, but you think that'll be your final turn. Your opponent can win the next turn. And sometimes you need that extra memory for hybrid attack or something else, or the ability to finish the game earlier before your opponent set up something to stop the OTK. Also in this format, memory blockers are seen fewer. And then we have one Rowdy Rocker. This card is a tricky one. Normally it's the best way to use it to put an Agumon under the stack. So in result, you pay 2 memory, but when you digivolve into an AncientGreymon, you can reduce 2 costs, but you get 1 additional check. And also draw 2 can help. Sometimes you draw into Blitz Omnimon or AncientGreymon if you're missing it. Or maybe a Gravity Crush for the memory you need for the OTK. Besides, Rowdy Rocker is needed for the turn 2 OTK combo. Then we have 4 red memory boosts. In most red decks, especially this deck, you don't want to spend your memory ineffectively, which means you want to spend your memory for a higher value return. In the system in this deck, it would be spending the memory for a big stack of AncientGreymon. So in the situation you don't see the pieces you want, memory boost works very well because you can get back 2 memory later on your main stack, and it can find AncientGreymon, which Flamemons cannot. Also for more chances to get hit from security, so definitely 4 counts. And for the Tamers, we have one Tamer. Because of the ability of AncientGreymon to gain security checks, Tai's effect is not significant in this deck for that additional check. Like you just need to pay 1 more memory for a Burning Greymon or Ultros mode in your stack to gain 1 more check. But having a memory Tamer is always a good thing. And the turn 2 OTK combo involves a Tai, and I will be introducing that later. Then we have 2 Takuya Kanbara. First, you can play it for free by the Flamemons on deletion effect. Second is, not only digivolving into Emperor Greymon, you can put 5 hybrid sources under Takuya and then stop the effect. It allows you to normally digivolve into AncientGreymon and have over 9 checks, with a minimum of 3 memory, and I'll also introduce that later. Then we have 1 Hero Amano Kawa. Considering Yellow Hybrid can bomb up the security DP, the hero can give 2000 DP, which can be very useful. And also in normal situations, if you didn't see an Ultras mode but you still want your AncientGreymon to be 16k DP, hero can help. But the downside is it will suspend the trigger, so it cannot be the source of hybrid attack, so we just play 1 here. Then we have 1 Analog Youth here. Only 1 Analog Youth is for searching and also the AncientGreymon Warping play. The only 1 count doesn't do much, but it gives the deck more possibility. For now, I'll introduce some OTK combos that can be done with this deck. In this case, we have Digimon, Flamemon, Agumon, Burning Greymon, and Aldamon. Assume we are at 1, we promote the Digimon, use Gravity Crush, gain 2, and then we digivolve AncientGreymon to go to 0 thanks to Agumon. We swing a security with 5 checks 14k, and then we finish the game with Omnimon, restand and swing. This time we have a Digimon, Flamemon, Agumon, Aldamon, and Ultros mode. So assume we are at 1, we promote and use Gravity Crush, go to 3, and then digivolve to Ancient for 3 memory. Swing for 16k 5 checks. So Omnimon again, restand and swing. This time we only have a Digimon, Flamemon, Agumon, and Aldamon. Assume we're at 1, we promote the Digimon, use a Gravity Crush to gain 2, play a Rowdy Rocker, go to 1, place an Agumon underneath the stack, digivolve to AncientGreymon with 1 memory, swing a security with 5 checks at 14k, and then finish with Omnimon. Assume we are starting at 1. First, we use Takuya's effect to place 5 hybrids underneath as sources, but we're not going to digivolve into Emperor Greymon. Then we use a Gravity Crush to gain 2 memory, digivolve to Burning Grey, digivolve to Aldamon and gain 4k DP, and then digivolve to AncientGreymon for 0 because of 3 Agumon. And then we swing security for 19k 9 checks, and then Omnimon for game. Assume we're going first. Hatch an egg. Digivolve to Playmon. Draw. And then play a tie. Go to 4. And then we're back to 3. Draw for turn. Promote. Digivolve to Agumon. Draw. And then we use a Gravity Crush to gain 2. And then we use 2 memory for Rowdy Rocker. Put in a Agumon underneath. And then we swing with Agumon. Digivolve to AncientGreymon. And thanks to this, Agumon is minus the cost by 2. And it is swinging for 14k 5 checks. Because of the tie, gets additional 1 check. So we Omnimon for game. Then here are 2 tech cards for you to adjust the list. First, this is Atomic Inferno. It's very useful when your opponent sets up some blockers. You can put it in your deck for the X antibody or armor matchups. But it only works for hybrid Digimon, so you need to use it before digivolving into an AncientGreymon. Then we have Crimson Blaze. It's a nice board clear option if you're worried about getting rushed. And stopping effects to play Digimon can be huge when playing against specific matchups like Mastermon. And Atomic Blaster is also a very good card, but in comparison, Crimson Blaze works better in this format because of the ability to delete 2 or more 6k or lower Digimon like XVmon or Stingmon, or even level 5 Digimon like AncientGreymon or Lady Devimon. This deck is not the toppest tier deck, but this red hybrid variant is definitely the best counter to the current yellow hybrid and still holds a pretty good performance against different decks. This deck is not the toppest tier deck, but this red hybrid variant is definitely the best counter to the current yellow hybrid and still holds a pretty good performance against different decks. Shout out to Huang0, we discussed for this deck and share some ideas in BT7 format. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.